3 Supreme Court justices, 400 miles of border wall, KALIN, 2 impeachments, and 1 global pandemic. No presidency has packed more drama into 4 years than Donald Trump's time in office.
You know what's fascinating about those 4 years, Pappy? The sheer number of unprecedented moments. Here was this businessman with zero political experience who completely rewrote the presidential playbook.
Well, let's start with how he transformed presidential communication. Those 3 a.m. tweets could literally move markets or spark international incidents. He basically turned Twitter into an official White House channel.
Hmm. And those tweets weren't just random thoughts. They were often trial balloons for major policy shifts. Remember when he announced the transgender military ban on Twitter? The Pentagon had no idea it was coming.
Speaking of policy, his economic record pre-pandemic was remarkable. Unemployment hit historic lows, the stock market set records, and the 2017 tax cut, which lowered corporate rates from 35% to 21%, was the most significant overhaul in decades.
Though critics would point out that those tax cuts mainly benefited corporations and the wealthy, you know what's interesting? His approach to trade was almost progressive, taking on China and renegotiating NAFTA.
Right? Well, that's what made him such a fascinating figure. He didn't fit into traditional Republican boxes at all. The meetings with Kim Jong un, the tariffs on China, and questioning NATO, he really challenged the entire post World War II international order.
So, what do you think was his most lasting impact? The judiciary appointments seem pretty significant.
Oh, absolutely massive. Those 3 Supreme Court justices, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett, plus over 200 federal judges. That's going to shape American law for a generation. But you know what might be even more significant? How he transformed political communication and media consumption patterns.
The whole fake news phenomenon and the alternative information ecosystem that developed around his presidency.
Exactly. He didn't just bypass traditional media, he helped create this parallel information universe, and then COVID 19 hit, revealing how deep these divisions had become. Even basic public health measures became partisan battlegrounds.
That final year was just extraordinary. Operation Warp Speed did help develop vaccines in record time, but by the end of his term, we'd lost over 400,000 Americans to the virus.
And then came the 2020 election and January 6th. Um, Watching a sitting president refuse to concede, then his supporters storming the Capitol, it was like watching the stress test of American democracy in real time.
Well, that led to his second impeachment, making him the only president to be impeached twice. However, he was acquitted both times in the Senate.
You know what's fascinating? Even after all that, his influence over the Republican Party hasn't really diminished. The party has largely embraced his populist nationalist approach. Traditional conservative positions on free trade, federal spending, and foreign policy have been completely transformed.
The Abraham Accords were another significant achievement that often gets overlooked. Getting several Arab nations to normalize relations with Israel was a major diplomatic breakthrough.
And looking at his broader legacy, it's so complex. The strong economy early on, the conservative judiciary, and the Middle East deals, these were significant achievements. But then there's the pandemic response, the 2 impeachments, and January 6th.
Like you said earlier, Pappy, no presidency has packed more drama into 4 years. He really showed how much one president can transform not just policy, but the very nature of American political life.
And that transformation continues today, KALIN. Whether you view him as a necessary disruptor or a threat to democratic norms, there's no denying that American politics will never be quite the same after Donald Trump. The question now is, how do we rebuild trust in our democratic institutions while acknowledging that politics has fundamentally changed